Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we are on part 3 of my Dart Fog Vivarium build, and I've gotten started on the carving of the foam. And I wanted to pause real quick and just show you what I use, at least this on this build, to carve the foam. I got these on Amazon, these X-Acto knives. And this is what I'm using currently. In the past, I've just used a regular old box cutter, and that works okay. But in certain areas, certain tight areas, like in here, big old bulky box cutter knife can make it a little more difficult to where I've actually pulled the blade out and just used the blade, my fingers. Probably not the safest thing in the world. So I went ahead and got these tools for this particular build and future builds. One thing I've that's already come in handy is this actual like chisel like blade. There's a few situations and nooks and crannies where that's come in handy already. So anyway, I'm not going to do, obviously I've started already, and I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera since I don't have a bipod or anything like that set up, but I will show you real quick how it looks when you get into it. And I'm actually not going to go too deep on this piece right here because I just sprayed it last night. It's not fully cured. So simple as that. And by simple I mean it cuts relatively easy, but it is time consuming for sure. This is as far as I've gotten in maybe a 15-minute period. So it definitely can be time consuming, but hey, it's worth it in the end for how it looks and how the frogs ultimately will enjoy the background. So next shot will be when this is all complete. All right, here we go. This is what it looks like when it's all carved up. I'm going to show you that real quick. Took a while. I would say probably about an hour. This is what it looks like after picking and carving away at it. There are a few spots where I did not hit. You can still see where it's kind of shiny. Reason for that is obviously the only things that are going to end up seeing that are the frogs. It's going to get covered up by plants and just not in view, so I wasn't gonna spend my time carving at it, so I didn't. Sorry for the shadow. I'm in a dark spot in my basement right now. So this probably took, I would say, an hour. It's not really fun, but I think it looks cool. And this is the pile. I'll be getting cleaned up here. As you can see, I trimmed away quite a bit. One thing I will say, in addition to those X-Acto knives, I also used some needle point pliers, and that helps get in even tougher spots that I can't even get to with the X-Acto knives. So if you have a pair of those, I would keep those handy, because it helps quite a bit. You just go in and pinch it off, basically. Though you don't want to get too crazy with it, because it almost feels like you can tear the foam away from the glass, which is not a good thing, so don't go too crazy. All right, so next we will tackle the dry lock. All right, here we go. Showing you the dry lock method here, obviously with dry lock present, and the coloring that you use to mix up and make it look however you want, whatever look you're going for. I use the Quikrete cement coloring. The three main colors that they have are the charcoal, which is basically black, and then terracotta and red. Also with the dry lock, the two colors that comes in that I've seen anyway are gray and white. I've used both work out fine. And you want to be making sure you're using the latex based dry lock And then from here, basically you're just going to mix up a cup. We'll be using the base of Dry Lock, and then however you want to lay down your coloring. I tend to go with a charcoal or a brown as the first coat, because you're going to want to put on more than one coat. On average, I'd say 2 to 3 coats. The first coat gets absorbed pretty heavily by the grate foam, because it's pretty porous once you carve off that outer slick sheen. So definitely more than one coat is going to be needed. What I'm going to go with is a dark brown first coat, and then I might lighten it up with the red, or maybe just straight up terracotta. I don't know, we'll see, and see what it looks like on coat number 2, and potentially lay down a third coat depending on how number 1 and number 2 turn out. Alright, and real quick, you can see a batch I just whipped up here for coat number 1. It's kind of a grayish brown color, and that'll be fine for the first coat. If I want to make it darker, I certainly can. So I'm going to go ahead and slap this on and see what it looks like after it starts to dry. Okay, and here we go the next day after the first coat has dried. You can see that when it does dry, it dries a slightly lighter color than when you put it on wet, obviously. And you can also tell I did a crappy job because I missed a whole bunch of spots. But that is okay, because as I just said, this was coat number 1, and we're going to do at least one more coat. Most likely we're going to do 3, but we'll see how number 2 turns out. And number 2 is going to have a little bit more brown color to it. So I'm primarily going to use the terracotta and maybe a dash of the red cement dye mix. So without further ado, I'm going to get going on that. Okay, and here we are after coat number 3. I wanted to show you this real quick. Coat number 2 ended up being, after it dried out, a lot brighter towards the red spectrum than I had hoped for and meant to do. So on coat number 3, I made it a lot more of a darker brown, if you can tell that. And then I just, no rhyme or reason, went over it kind of just randomly. And this is how it turned out. So, not my best work, but it'll be just fine for what I have planned. Like I said a couple videos ago, or a couple takes ago anyway, that the majority of this will be covered by plants anyway. So I am just fine with how it turned out. So next, I'm going to start adding in our layers. So the drainage layer, screen, and then substrate, and then eventually plants. Before I do that though, I think I'm going to go ahead and start rearranging my rack and get this in place and just do everything over there versus fill it all up and then transport it over when it's all nice and heavy. So I'm going to get this moved first. Alright, here is the enclosure up on the rack next to the other 18 by 18 by 24. Wanted to show you real quick, now that I got the drainage layer added in, got it about an inch there. Again, I keep mine pretty low. Since I miss by hand, I never really have to drain it, so no point in me adding, a full 2 inches or so. Next, I'll add in the substrate barrier and then the ABG mix on top of that. And right now I'm just using the long Exoterra light fixture. It's what I had for quite a while, and what I use in between waiting on LED lights. I like to use the Beamworks. This one right here, that's a shorter one. I want to say 36 inches maybe. might not even be that. But then there's the 72-inch one over there, and that's what I'm going to get for going above this rack here. I don't know the specs on those lights off the top of my head, so I'll place that in the description on what I like to use. Okay, substrate has been laid. Let's see, this was 2 bags worth of ABG mix with a little bit of cocoa fiber that I added to get it a little more volume. Just turned it in with my hand into the ABG mix, as well as a pound of calcium-based clay. Bought this a little while ago. Decided to go ahead and throw it in. And this has benefits to microfauna, which in turn pass it on to frogs, and also potential direct contact to the frogs as they're hopping around. Though there will be, it will be completely covered with leaf litter. But as microfauna and leaf litter breaks down within it, and microfauna are munching on it, and the frogs in turn are munching on the microfauna, they pass on the benefits of that calcium. So if you want to read up more about that, I suggest hopping over to Dendroboard and reading up on that. Lots of information over there. A lot of people swear by it, especially those who are raising Ufega and the direct benefits it has to their tiny froglets. So I won't be housing any Ufega in this enclosure, but I still feel the benefits are still there for all frogs. So all right, next it's time to get to planting. Okay, here's a first look of the tank after it got some plants in it. I just have this bromeliad sitting here. It's not actually gonna be there. The reason I don't have it in place yet is I'm gonna go see a buddy of mine that has some really nice big ones that I will try and fill this area up with, and then basically once I get the big one or 2 in here, I'll find a spot for that pup. I think I'll probably leave this one here. Obviously I will add leaf litter in on top of all this stuff. However, I'm not going to add the leaf litter until I'm satisfied with the placement of the plants. I may move things around yet still, so I'm not going to add the leaf litter until then. And I will also be getting some more plants as well. These are ones I ordered a week and a half ago. I just didn't want to order too many plants until I had the hardscape done, so I had a better idea of what other plants I wanted to get and where to place them. So I will be adding some more, but first things first, hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to meet up with them and find some cool bigger bromeliads to place along this hardscape here. I did give everything a little soak down. And this guy may have to be moved. I don't know, we'll see. Might be too much light, but we'll play it by ear. All right. Okay, and here we go. We got it planted, and we got some leaf litter down. I also added in this piece of wood here. Got it kind of leaning and supported with some substrate. It's pretty heavy. It's not going to go anywhere. Added some bromeliads. Got one up there, a big one here, 2 more smaller ones. I got some other pups going in some other enclosures that I may over time add up around there or so in the future as they get bigger, but we'll see. I'm also going to add in some vining plants to add up along the cork and dry lock foam. So but as far as this video is concerned, I think it's finished. Now all you got to do is wait, let some of this grow in some more, and add in some more microfauna. I added some isopods last night. I had some powder blues and powder oranges that I added in there. And I need to go ahead and get some springtails added in as well. And then once it's grown in some more, I'll move some frogs in here. Haven't quite figured out what I'm going to throw in there just yet, but when I do, I may make a video of that, putting them into their new home. All right. Go ahead and drop me a like if you liked it, and feel free to subscribe for more videos.